No office, no employees, no warehouse, just a trunk, a hose, and a phone, and the same money a coffee shop on Main Street brings in. $300 to $900 for one working day, based on industry estimates for operators who actually show up. Nobody competes for this money for one reason: the work is disgusting. And at number one is a job where people change their clothes in the driveway before they get back in the truck. Here is how the whole list is sorted, in plain words. Money for one working day, for one person, with one vehicle. Not company revenue, not the size of the market, not passive income. One man, one day, one number. And before you decide this is a list of bad jobs, take the first piece of it right now. Restaurant hood cleaning. The greasy metal box over a commercial stove. Industry pricing from hood cleaning contractors puts a single restaurant at roughly $600 to $1,200 for a night shift. 2 restaurants in one night, and the day is closed. The equipment fits in a van. All 20 of these jobs share one detail. It is not in the money, and it is not in the equipment. I will name it at the very end, and after that you will see it everywhere. Now the argument against me. Everyone in this exact money bracket goes and opens a coffee shop, or a food delivery brand, or a small marketing agency. Take the coffee shop. Rent, a 5-year lease, an espresso machine, a fridge, 4 people on shift, and an average ticket around $6. To reach the same daily number, you need roughly 150 paying customers through the door, every single day, before you pay the landlord. Parking lot striping has no lease, no shift, no average ticket. It has one machine, one night, and almost nobody within an hour who does it. Same money, completely different arithmetic. Where the numbers come from? Trade association pricing, labor statistics, franchise disclosure documents, and interviews with working operators. These are ranges for a person who works with his hands, not averages and not guarantees. Nothing here is passive. Nothing here is business or legal advice. And every single one of these jobs is somebody's long, unpleasant day. We start at the bottom, with the boring end. Here is the tension in this first block. The dullest jobs on the list pay the least of anything here, and they pay back the fastest. And that is exactly the trap. Somewhere in this block is a business where the entire startup cost fits into one trip to the hardware store. Number 20. Dryer vent cleaning. $300 to $400 for a full day, roughly $45 an hour, at a ticket of $120 to $200 per house. You push a spinning brush on flexible rods into the pipe behind the dryer and pull out packed lint. The customer is a homeowner whose insurance policy and appliance manual both mention fire. He cannot skip it because a denied claim costs more than every cleaning he ever paid for. Brushes, rods, a vacuum, a small camera. Call it $1,500 to $2,000, paid back in about 10 houses. The moat is boredom. The job looks so small that people feel embarrassed charging for it. The ugly detail is what comes out. Gray felt that smells like hot clothes and mice. No license in most places, but you carry liability insurance because you are working inside a stranger's home. $300 for lint in a pipe is the floor of this list. Go up one step, and the price rises for exactly one reason. The smell gets worse. Number 19. Dog waste removal from yards. $300 to $450 a day, around $40 an hour, at $15 to $25 per subscription visit. You walk a yard once a week with a scoop and a bucket. The customer has 2 dogs, a lawn, and small children, and he does not skip because the charge runs on a card and the yard fills up in 7 days. Scoop, rake, buckets, disinfectant, fuel. Around $500 total. The moat is stigma, pure and simple. The name of the job kills interest before anyone reaches the numbers. And in July, the bucket in the back of the truck develops a personality. Here the money comes from a subscription. But what if the money came from one phone call a year, and that call paid 10 times more? Number 18. Mobile knife sharpening for restaurants and butcher shops. $300 to $500 a day, servicing about 5 kitchens, roughly $50 an hour. A van with a grinding rig pulls up, dull knives go in, sharp knives come out. The chef cannot skip it because a dull knife is a cut hand and a stopped line on a Friday night. Grinder, belts, a bolted rack in the van, $2,000 to $4,000. The moat here is age. Trade publications keep noting the same thing. This work is held up by men past 60, and nobody is replacing them. The ugly detail is the smell of burnt steel and the film of old fat on every blade you touch. The knives go back sharp. The next customer hands you something he does not want to look at all. Number 17. Carpet and upholstery cleaning. $350 to $600 a day, about $60 an hour. A hot water extractor pulls dirt out of the fibers. The customer is a landlord between tenants, and he cannot skip it because he cannot rent the unit. Extractor, hoses, chemistry, a trailer, $3,000 to $8,000. The moat is physical weight and a bottom end of the market that competes on price. The ugly detail is the recovery tank after one living room with one cat. The water goes the color of coffee. A carpet can be ignored for a year. The next customer legally does not have that option. Number 16. Curbside trash bin washing. $300 to $500 a day on a tight route, around $45 an hour. A pickup with a water tank and a pressure washer cleans the container at the curb. Customers are homeowners on subscription and property managers with rows of bins. And here's the answer to what I opened this block with. The cheapest working setup starts around $1,500, a pump, a tank, a catch pan. That is the hardware store trip. Most states require you to capture the wastewater instead of sending it down a storm drain, which is one more reason the field is thin. The ugly detail is August. The larvae on the bottom of the bin move like rice. So far, every customer has been a private person. From here on, the customer is somebody the government finds. Second block. This is where the dirt starts, and where a license shows up for the first time and works for you instead of against you. Watch for that word. Number 15. Pressure washing concrete and building exteriors. $400 to $700 a day, about $70 an hour. You strip the black film off sidewalks, siding, and drive-thrus. The customer owns a cafe or a strip mall where a filthy entrance means fewer people and sometimes a written notice from the city. Washer, surface cleaner, hoses, buffer tank, $3,000 to $7,000. The moat is heat, ladders, and weight. The ugly detail is the black slime that runs off the wall. It smells like a pond. Most cities require you to control your runoff. Here you take dirt off the outside. The next customer keeps his inside, and he pays more to hide it. Number 14. Chimney sweeping. $400 to $700 a day in season, around $70 an hour. You get on the roof and run a brush down the flue, taking off creosote. The homeowner cannot skip it because his insurer wants an annual inspection report. Brushes, rods, vacuum, ladder, camera. $2,000 to $5,000. Certification through the Industry Institute is effectively mandatory if you want your report to mean anything to an insurance company. The moat is season and height. Half the year is empty. Creosote shines like tar and stays on your hands for 2 days. That is the first time a license worked in your favor. Next, it removes 9 people out of 10. Number 13. Mobile auto glass repair and replacement. $400 to $800 a day, around $80 an hour. You drive to an office parking lot and swap a windshield in about an hour, while the owner sits at his desk. He cannot skip it because he fails inspection, and very often his insurer pays the bill in full. Tools, suction cups, urethane, a van rack, training, $4,000 to $8,000. You need liability coverage and in some states registration with insurers as a provider. The moat is boring precision and insurance paperwork. The ugly detail is the adhesive. You do not taste your dinner until the next morning. Insurance pays fast. The next customer pays faster, because otherwise he is closed tomorrow. Number 12. Pest control with no office. $400 to $800 a day, roughly $75 an hour, on recurring accounts of $40 to $80 a month per address. You run a route, refresh bait stations, and put down barriers on a schedule. The restaurant cannot skip it because one health inspection ends the business in an afternoon. Sprayer, bait, vehicle, training. $3,000 to $10,000. Every state requires a licensed pesticide applicator, and there is an exam. That exam is the moat. It removes the crowd before the crowd ever prices a job. And the detail nobody mentions. You learn the smell of a dead rat in a wall before you find the wall. The exam removed most of the competition. Next, what removes people is not paperwork. It is what comes out of the pipe. Number 11. Drain cleaning and sewer camera work. $500 to $900 a day, around $90 an hour, with emergency calls starting near $250. A cable machine and a camera under a house at night in the rain. The homeowner with water on the floor cannot wait, physically. Machine, camera, van, $8,000 to $20,000. Some states require a plumbing license, others allow cleaning without one, so check yours. The moat is disgust, plus a phone that rings at 2 in the morning. The ugly detail is what comes back up the cable. A ball of roots and wet wipes the size of a football. Now stop, because this is the most useful minute of the video, and I am not saving it for the end. The market does not pay for skill. The market pays for embarrassment. Look at the list from the top down. The easier a job is to explain on a date, the lower the daily number. That is not a metaphor, that is pricing. In any American city, there are 100 people ready to shoot weddings, and roughly nobody ready to pump a grease trap. The second job is technically simpler. The second job pays more. The only real difference is that one man enjoys describing his work, and the other one never mentions it. And here is the part that compounds. Trade associations keep reporting the same thing about these niches. The average owner is somewhere around 60. His kids are not taking over. So the market is not just empty, it is emptying. Every year, quietly, one more truck goes up for sale, and nobody buys it to keep running the route. And that is still not the detail all 20 share. 10 places to go. Third block. From here, the customer stops being a person and becomes a business that legally cannot refuse to pay you. Number 10. Parking lot striping and seal coating. $500 to $900 a day on striping, around $90 an hour. A walk-behind machine lays down lines and accessibility symbols on asphalt at 2 in the morning. The shopping center owner cannot skip it, because stall dimensions and accessible spaces are written into law and into his lease. Striper, paint, stencils, blower, trailer, $4,000 to $10,000. Contractor registration in some states, liability insurance everywhere. The moat is boredom and the schedule. The ugly detail is that asphalt at 3 in the morning still holds the heat of the day, and the paint sticks to your boots. Here you mark the surface. The next customer hides his problem on the roof, and it costs more. Number 9. Commercial solar panel and rooftop system cleaning. $500 to $800 a day, around $80 an hour. A brush on a telescopic pole and deionized water on top of a warehouse. The owner cannot skip it because dust cuts his output and his service agreement says so. Poles, water filtration, tank, height insurance, $3,000 to $8,000. The moat is simple, height and fear. And bird droppings on a panel after one summer are basically cement. Dust is a slow loss. The next customer loses everything in one evening if you do not come. Number 8. Kitchen exhaust hood cleaning. The one I opened with. $600 to $1,200 for a night shift, around $100 an hour. You pull apart the duct over the stove and wash it down to bare metal. The restaurant cannot skip it because the fire code and the insurance policy both demand a dated certificate. Heated pressure washer, chemistry, plastic sheeting, van, $8,000 to $20,000. Certification to the National Fire Protection Standard is what makes your paperwork valid. The moat is all of it at once. Disgust, night work, and credentials. The grease comes off the walls of the duct in sheets like black lard. The walls are clean, but that same restaurant has a tank in the back alley and it smells worse. Number 7. Used cooking oil collection and grease trap service. $600 to $1,000 a day on a dense route, about $90 an hour. A pump and a tank in the truck bed, and you empty the bin behind the kitchen. The restaurant cannot skip it, because putting grease into the sewer means fines and a closure. Truck with a tank, pump, permits, $15,000 to $40,000. the most expensive entry so far. You need waste transport permits and a disposal contract. The moat is the permits and the odor. What comes out of a grease trap is a gray paste, and the smell moves into the cab of your truck and stays there. That smell you drive away from. The next one arrives with you. Number 6. Portable toilet service. $700 to $1,000 a day on construction routes, around $90 an hour, at roughly $100 to $170 a month per unit. A vacuum truck runs job sites once a week. The general contractor cannot skip it because sanitation on an active site is a legal requirement. Truck with a vacuum system, units, permits, $30,000 to $80,000, and septic hauling permits are mandatory. The moat is discussed in its purest form, plus contracts that renew for years without a conversation. The ugly detail. 95 degrees and you open a unit that has not been serviced in 10 days. Here, the customer signs the contract in advance. Next, the customer calls you with no warning, and the price of that call triples. Last block. What ties these together is one word: urgency. Number 5. Junk removal and property cleanouts. $700 to $1,100 a day on 2 loads, around $100 an hour. A trailer, a hand truck, and a ladder, and you carry somebody's house to the landfill. The customer is an heir, a realtor, or a property manager, and he cannot skip it because the house does not sell or rent full. Pickup, trailer, dollies, insurance, landfill fees, $8,000 to $20,000. The moat is weight and sight. In a hoarder house, the floor gives under your boot because it is not a floor. It is a layer. Sometimes there is something else behind the junk in a house like that. That is where the top of the list begins. Number 4. Bank foreclosure property cleanouts and preservation. $600 to $1,000 a day on a package of work orders, around $90 an hour. You remove belongings, change the locks, cut the grass, and photograph everything for the bank. The lender cannot skip it because he is required to keep the collateral in sellable condition. Pickup, tools, locks, mower, insurance, $5,000 to $15,000, plus registration with the field service networks. The moat is stigma and mood, plus brutal photo reporting, and there is still food in a refrigerator that lost power a month ago. Here you arrive after everyone has left. Next, you arrive while someone is still standing in the hallway. By the way, this is the moment to subscribe because the next 3 entries are the ones people argue about in the comments, and I want to hear which number you would refuse. Number 3. Emergency water damage drying. $800 to $1,500 per property per day, around $100 an hour, and the invoice usually goes to an insurer. You open wet drywall and set air movers for 3 days. The homeowner cannot wait because mold begins in about 48 hours. Dehumidifiers, air movers, moisture meters, certification, van, $15,000 to $40,000. Certification to the Restoration Institute standard is what lets you bill insurance at all. The moat is the 24-hour phone and the estimating software. You cut into the wall, and what comes out with the water is a smell you do not forget. Water is still fixable. What comes next does not dry. Number 2. Fire and smoke damage cleanup and deodorization. $800 to $1,500 a day, about $110 an hour. You take soot off everything, including the inside of every closet, and then you take the smell of the fire out of the house. The insurer pays on the owner's behalf, and nobody skips it because the home is otherwise unlivable. Fogger, chemistry, suits, filters, van, $20,000 to $50,000 with restoration certification and insurance. The moat is disgust plus credentials plus a respirator on your face for 8 hours. And soot is greasy. It smears instead of wiping, and it gets under your fingernails. One job left. It pays more than anything above it, and it explains this entire video. Number 1. Biohazard and crime scene remediation, the cleanup after a death. Industry contractors put a single job somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000, and at a working caseload that lands above $800 per working day, roughly $120 an hour. Be honest about the shape of it. The work is uneven. A month can be empty. In a suit and a respirator, you remove flooring, and often the subfloor under it, disinfect the space, and haul the material away as regulated medical waste. The customer is an heir or a landlord, and he cannot practically or legally skip it. He cannot rent the unit, and he cannot walk into the room. Suits, respirators, disinfection equipment, biohazard containers, a disposal contract, training, and a van run $20,000 to $50,000. Operators interviewed in the trade press describe payback in roughly 1 to 2 years with steady referral flow, and that is an estimate, not a promise. You need bloodborne pathogen training under federal occupational rules, a medical waste transport permit, and a licensed disposal partner. That is the paperwork. That is also the moat. Actually, this business has every moat at once: disgust, licensing, stigma, and the psychological weight of the room. Which is why a city of 300,000 people supports about 2 companies doing this, and both of them are busy. 300,000 people also support 400 photographers, and the ugly detail is the one that defines the pricing. The job does not end where the stain ends. It ends where the smell ends. Usually that is 2 layers down, through the carpet, through the pad, into the wood. There is one more part of the service that nobody puts on the invoice. When you arrive, the person meeting you at the door is a son or a landlord who has known the tenant for 9 years. What that person needs in that hour is not a contractor. It is someone who speaks calmly, does not stare, and explains what happens next. That is part of the job, and it is part of the price. It is also the reason the work cannot be outsourced, automated, or done cheaply by whoever bids lowest. So here is that shared detail I promised. Not one of these 20 jobs is something a person takes on willingly. They get taken when there is nobody else left to take them. That is exactly why they pay, and from now on you will see it everywhere. Pretty work gets split among everyone. Ugly work is all yours. Next, watch the one on the first purchase. 12 businesses you can start with 1 used vehicle and no borrowed money, including the exact truck most of the operators on this list bought first, and what it costs when you get that single decision wrong.